Begin transmission. Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. Today, we are counting down all the new Star Wars things happening in 2026 for the movies, to the series, to the books, to the comics, to the video games, and more. We're going to be breaking all it down, everything we know of so far, but of course, we know as we get surprises, we'll probably have more stuff added to this list as the year goes on. Unfortunately, we were not being able to be joined by Milton today, but for hopefully the next episode, he'll be on here giving us his thoughts at least. But I do have Ben, so how's it going, Ben? I know it's been 2 weeks' time. I hope you had rest and good time with the family and relax. So,
yeah, it was a really good Christmas and New Year's. Hope everyone had a great one as well. Just to start the podcast with a interesting thing. I don't have the item with me right now. It's actually out in the living room still, but I got a little Star Wars mini fridge actually for Christmas from my dad. He found it's literally it's probably 12 by 12. It's small. Basically, it can hold up to 6 cans essentially. Is what it is. It's the size. It's literally enough to hold 6 cans of something. So yeah, my dad found me that as a little Christmas gift, which was cool because he's like, hey, here you can have a little Star Wars mini fridge he found at Target or something. So yeah. That was kind of like my 2 weeks in Star Wars really was just getting that little gift, which was, really neat to get something like that. I got that, and then a tradition always every year, as long as I can remember, my dad always gets me 3 Star Wars Pez dispensers in a stocking, and I got Boba Fett, Darth Vader, and Chewbacca.
well, there you go. There you go. You can't go wrong with those guys. You got the scoundrels, you got the underworld with Boba Fett. It's all good stuff right there.
Yep. It's always fun getting Star Wars gifts.
Oh yeah. As far as Star Wars gifts, well, I did give a gift to my niece and nephew, which is a Star Wars Unlimited trading card game, which I play myself, and I was very shocked to know how much they're into this game because I gave the game on a couple days after Christmas. I get a picture from my brother-in-law saying, "Hey, they really love this game. They can't put it down." And it's like my nephew's only 6 years old, and he's like he actually beat me in a game. My niece beat me in a game. They built their own decks. I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of these guys. I'm a proud uncle right now. These guys are delving deep into their first trading card. Well, not even their first. They played kind of the Disney version of this, basically. But it's really cool to see how they're interested in it. And even the day I gave them that, we were sitting down watching The Phantom Menace because we had started it and we got about 30 minutes in last time, which was a couple months ago. So we picked up where we left off, right at Watto's junk shop there when Anakin meets Padme, and it was really cool. I mean, my nephew was kind of like, how many minutes are left? And I'm like, oh, that's never a good thing if the kid's asking how many minutes are left in the movie. The problem was I promised him that I was going to play Switch 2 with Mario Kart World, so I think he had that on his brain more than anything else. But my niece was asking me really good questions and all, metachlorians, is that how powerful he is as a Jedi? I'm like, yeah, that's actually a really good thought process. She was asking a lot of good, engaging things, and
Yep.
I was like, she was like, oh, is this? She was like the part with Yoda when he's talking about attachment and all that, and she's all like, oh, is that how he turns evil because he has to leave his mom and all this stuff? And I'm like, you're not wrong. I said that's part of it. I said that's actually part of the reason. Yeah. So it was really good actually. She's 10, so I'm able to, get in the weeds a little bit with her with the franchise. And so yeah, we started watching Attack of the Clones, and then the mother turned it off because they had to go to sleep. So I was like, all right, next time. I was like, wait, just for the ending of the scene where Corday gets destroyed by the bomb, and this is where we left off. Literally 2 minutes in, but that's good. I said I can't wait to show you my favorite character of the prequels. I can't wait to show you Jango Fett. I said Jango Fett is the father of Boba Fett, and I started going off with that. So I think they'll really
I'm interested. Yeah, I'm interested. I think one scene, for a 10-year-old like that, I think that'll be a good thing, or a good. I think she'll probably end up liking, obviously the visuals of Camino, when they show all the clones and the spectacle that is, and then even, of course, the arena sequence I think is going to be something that's eye capturing. And then of course, the only thing I would say, you might have to pre-warn her a little bit. She might get a little scared on the. It depends on how she is on the Tusken Raider part, in the
Oh,
camp.
yeah.
But other than that, I feel like there's a lot of good stuff in there for like a 10-year-old to be watching because there's so many good visual moments like that are
Oh,
engaging
yeah.
too.
I feel like most kids probably would like Attack of the Clones more than Phantom Menace because Attack
Oh,
of the Clones
100%.
has way more action. There's a lot of slow parts, and I was telling my nephew, I was like, "Look, I know there's parts, there's a lot of talking in this movie." I said, just wait to the end. You're gonna see a lot of cool action." So he ended up waiting to the end to watch it, and then I was like, "What you guys think of the duel? What you guys think of the duel?" Like, look at how cool that guy is. He's got a double blade lightsaber. Then my nephew's like, "Well, how does he hold it? Because he can hold the wrong end and burn his hand off." And I'm like, he's a Sith trained. He's a Sith. He's okay. He could deal. He could deal. So it was a good time, and I was telling my niece too. I was like, I was literally the same age watching this movie for the first time that you are right now. I said that main character, Anakin Skywalker, was literally our age. Like he's like 9 or 10, and so are you. So it's like I thought that was kind of cool connecting the dots. Going, yeah, I watched this movie the same age that you basically did. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's always I mean, that's why like, those movies went over so well. The prequels went over so well with us because they grew with us as well as like other franchises,
Mm-hmm.
especially like Harry Potter, that
Oh yeah.
movie, he was literally our age in the first one or whatever. So it's
Yeah.
just like, you know, those types of things, they connect with kids. That's why like even like ET back then, it connected with that generation and so forth and so forth.
Oh yeah. For sure. So, getting into the show proper, you can always watch us when we go live. Know when we're going live by subscribing to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Star Raptor. For everybody that wants to listen after the fact, just search Outer Rim Transmission on any podcast app of your choice will be on there. And please give us a rate and review on any of those. So, getting into it, out this week, we have Boba Fett Black, White, and Red, issue number 4, which is the final issue of this anthology really cool series that peels back the layers of Boba Fett a little bit, the man behind the mask, if you will. We also, speaking of clones, have another edition of a Bad Batch story in comics from Dark Horse. We have Hyperspace Stories, the Bad Batch Rogue Agents issue number 1, Bad Batch versus another cadre of clones that have apparently defected from the Republic, which is starting to shape up as such a cool story. When I was watching Bad Batch, I'm going, can we get a fight between the Bad Batch and Republic Commando? And unfortunately, that sort of happened because there was only like one of them left at that point for Republic Commando. But at least with this story, it's like, okay, we have 4 elite clones versus these other 5 elite clones over here. So it's shaping up to be something cool. And it's something that comics can only do sometimes. But you could look forward to me and Matthew over on the Star Wars Underworld. We're going to break that one down coming up this upcoming Wednesday. Every Wednesday we go live on there to talk about the comics. But yeah, I mean, today we're just simply talking about what we're hyped for coming into 2026. And 2026, there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, when you look at it, this is the first year we're getting a movie, so we'll start there. The Mandalorian and Grogu seems a little different for me. It's the first Star Wars movie that I'm not actually excited for. Like when we get within a month, I'll get excited for it. But right now, it seems first of all so far away, but also I'm just like I'm just jaded at this point, going, why can't this just be a season 4 kind of thing? Like, why does this have to be on the screen? Because from what they have showed me, Ben, I'm not impressed. I am not seeing anything that looks like it's going to warrant itself being on a big screen other than, hey, let's just get more eyes on this thing. But, it's a new Star Wars movie. And as I was telling my father before we started to record this, I'm like, we haven't had a Star Wars movie by the time this one comes out in freaking 7 years. Like, that's not,
Yep.
there's
It's
no
it's
excuse. There's no excuse for
no.
why they couldn't do something way before this at this point, you know?
Yeah, to me, to start off, I'll just say this. Like, we've harped on it for so much. Kathleen Kennedy has all of her pros. She's done a lot of good things for Star Wars. But for me, the most fireable offense is why haven't we had a movie in theaters for 7 years? Like, there's no excuses for it. So like that's my thing. I think that's the big thing with this movie. It's just like, gosh, it's been so long since we had a movie in theaters. And then up to this point, we have the issue of uh Star Wars being diluted down because there's so much Star Wars, which is great and everything. But the problem is it's great if there's a lot of Star Wars that works. um, and then when you have a lot of projects that are kind of up and down and all over the place, it dilutes it where then people are going in with skepticism. Like even look at like Superman last year. A lot of people went into it skeptically because of DC's history, and James Gunn had to like prove everybody wrong on it. So I think Star Wars has kind of backed themselves into a corner with all their media, in my opinion. I mean, we've seen it over the past 4 or 5 years. The trend on all the shows pretty much is going down for viewership. So it's just like I think that's the big thing when it comes to this movie. And then like the funny thing about it is like you said about season 4 of Mando, like John Favreau did an interview a couple months ago and like he implied that he has a season 4 script that's not this movie. And it's like, what is going on? So I don't know. I don't know exactly. I'm excited for it though personally, just because I'm ready for Star Wars to be back in theaters. I like Mando's one of my more favorite properties they've created under this Disney umbrella. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. Um, and to me, as I've stated so many times before, this is more of the stepping stone to like Ahsoka and the Dave movie more than anything. Like to me, this is more they're gonna just try to like spark back up more Mando hype because the
Yeah.
thing is at the end of the day, us as Star Wars fans, we have to come to the realization we may have our critiques of Mando from Mando season 3 and Boba Fett or whatever. But the thing is, at the end of the day, your mom and my uncle and all these people, my uncle and aunt that haven't seen or kept up with this stuff as much as all of us, when they see Grogu in the advertising and they get reminded of like, oh, Grogu and Mando, like, oh, that's cute. Like, they're gonna get back into, they're gonna want to go see it because for them it's been a long time since they've seen Grogu. So it's been, it'll be to me, this movie's way more targeted at the general audience than hardcore fans.
Yeah. I do have an anecdote to share from the last recording. I did go out and see Avatar Fire and Ash in IMAX 3D, and oh, they are pushing hard for Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yep.
Not only did we that as soon as I walk in the door, there's a giant cardboard. I might have sent it to you guys. A giant cardboard
Yeah.
layout right there by where you get in, so you can't miss it. And then you see the trailer, and they do have a different trailer. Now it's not really different. They tacked on like a beginning part where they're like in the middle of an action sequence with Grogu, and Mando's like, "Hey, are you ready with your? Do you have your mail on or whatever?" Like his like little like Beskar
Yep.
shirt or something. And he like looked under and he's like, "Yep, okay." And then at the end of it, they have like an extended scene of Mando versus like those creatures in the arena. And besides that, it was everything that we've already seen sandwiched in between there. So you had that, and that looked fine. Like something about the combat sequence, and that you can't go by a trailer because a lot of times they'll clean this stuff up. But the action sequence that was put on at the end of this thing looked a little rough to me. It looked like a lot of the shots were really close and very quick cuts. So it just seemed kind of like, again, like a Book of Boba Fett style series, like episode of
Mm.
TV. Where I was like, oh, can't we do something a little bit more grand than these really close cinematic shots like this? Again, this could be just obviously a nitpick here, but that stuck out to me. I don't know. Have you seen this extended trailer? I guess I'll call
I I haven't seen that one. I honestly I've been so busy with the holiday stuff. I
it.
haven't even looked up into leaks. I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure I'll find it after this stream's over. But it's by the description of it, like I think it's just like it's just the first part of the marketing push. This is the first initial steps. Like you got to have it attached to Avatar, and then you go to whatever the next step is of the plan, etc. And they just they got to keep pushing it. And then like I said, they're going to lean into all the Grogu stuff. So like leading up to that, like I guarantee you by the end of April or end of May, Pedro and a Grogu puppet are probably going to be on every morning talk show. So that'll be out there in full swing and everything. And it really is to me. Like I think, like I said, I think this movie. I think this may be unpopular to say, but I think hardcore fans like all of us are underestimating. Like we may be like, oh yeah, we've seen a lot of Grogu, whatever. But literally over Christmas break, my when we were at my aunt and uncle's for Christmas, one of my nieces had her little Grogu pajama thing on, and my aunt was like, "Oh, that's such a cute shirt that Baby Yoda from the Star Wars show. He's such a cute little creature." And so like just random people, they're not tired of it. They it's just it's just like because they don't think about movies like we do. They watch the movie and then they move on. They don't sit and stew on the fandom of it. So like I think that's what hardcore fans are underestimating is like hardcore fans may be like on Mando and Grogu, but then it's like the general audience has a completely different perception of the property.
Yeah, yeah, and another thing here that they added, they're really pushing for Mando and Grogu and IMAX apparently because
Yep.
I don't know when the last time you've seen an IMAX presentation was, but they always have like the 10-second countdown from 10, 9, 8, blah blah blah, and it's like basically getting you ready to like, oh, we're about to experience IMAX, like this little hype reel trailer. So they got rid of the generic one and they made one that was Star Wars Mandalorian centric, where it was like the nine turns into like Grogu or somebody like hammering Beskar that turns into eight, and then
Yep.
they had like the Star Warsified thing with like the Mando theme music going on with this thing, and they're like trying to build the high. I'm like, they are at least really trying to get this in people's heads right now. Like, this seems like it's the next big. I haven't really looked closely at the movie schedule for the beginning of 2026, but they're pushing this as the first blockbuster I would imagine that will be out this year. Because besides Avatar, I mean, we were originally going to get Avengers Doomsday. Supergirl's not out until after Mando. So unless I'm missing
Yep.
something, I think this is like the big first tentpole movie to get
Yep.
people in the theaters again after Avatar. Because Avatar was huge. It made over $1 billion already.
Yeah. It's yeah, I think Mando is the next big thing. I can't think of anything else that's coming that that's especially on our our neck of the woods radar, like for nerds and all of that. Like I can't think of anything other than Supergirl, which that's like June.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just very, as much as I am kind of trepidatious about the movie, I am excited to see if Lucasfilm could just pull it off. I'm excited to see if they could really make this cinematic universe of theirs work in a way that it works so closely where it's like, okay, you watch these 3 seasons of TV, including a spin-off and Ahsoka, and then you're going to watch the movie, and then you're going to go back to Ahsoka season 2, you're going to watch that, and then if this movie does well, there's going to be another Mando spin-off movie probably, and you're going to watch that, and then you're going to watch Dave's movie or something like that. Like, I'm curious to see how Lucasfilm, A, brings in people with this movie that have never watched a single episode of Mandalorian, but they know their family and friends are like, oh, yeah, it was a great show. Well, are they going to make it user friendly for people to come in and watch it without watching the other things?
oh,
But
I
at the
think
same
so.
time, how are you going to keep the super fans like us involved, our podcasts and, every week and all this sort of thing? How do you keep us engaged? It's a very slippery slope that's going to be like, how do you cater to both sides? You know what I mean?
I think that's actually very easy because all you have to do is just you put in a few breadcrumbs for the hardcore fans, like the stuff leading into the next shows or whatever, different little things. Um, but we already have the answer from the folks over there because Favreau and Filoni both have talked about when they make most of their shows, or their show. This was for their shows anyways. They want their shows to be able to standalone where you can pick it up and watch it and not have to do any homework whatsoever when they're making a product. So I think because I remember Dave was talking about that and John were talking about that a couple of 3-4 years ago. They were talking about the sequence with Ahsoka in Mando season 2, and they were talking about how you don't need any context to watch that. the people who know who she is, it's valuable to, but you can get all you need to know from that scene with her, that hey, she was, part of the Jedi Purge, and she's this former Jedi, and obviously she's powerful to a degree or whatever because she survived, and like, that's all you need to know really. So I think they've already had experience at doing it. I mean, heck, even look at the intro of Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan, I think, was arguably even a better intro than Ahsoka, just because she was a payoff for all of us hardcore fans. She came in and was kicking butt and everything, and she was valuable to us. And then all the general audience knows, like for your mom, for example, hey, this is this cool bounty hunter lady or whatever she is, Mandalorian lady coming in and just wiping the floor with these pirates and stuff. And that's all they need to know. The general audience doesn't need to know she's Bo-Katan and this legendary character. So I think they already have the template of how to do it. I really do.
Yeah, you are right. Like season 2 is so great with just bringing in these characters left and right, front and center. I hope that this movie expands more than what we've seen. So like right now, for instance, like it's very seems very small where it's like, okay, the only characters we've really seen are I think she's a general played by Sigourney Weaver or whatever her rank is in the Republic, the New Republic. You
Yep.
got the twins Huts that are somehow not in any trailer but are front and center on the poster. You got Garazeb Aurelios from obviously Star Wars Rebels. And so that seems to me, maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but that seems to be all the characters we know so far. I want to see
Yeah.
Carson Teva. I want to see maybe Ezra Bridger. I want to see characters that will. It seems like the Imperials from that Shadow Council might be in this because I
I
think
think that
the
got confirmed
yeah
by Hollywood Reporter. Someone one of the trades confirmed that several months ago. Like
that
a few of the lead guys were casted for this.
that's great news because that'll allow
Yeah.
this to really have bigger ramifications. Just like the worst thing that could happen is like Mando's just fighting a bunch of like no name pirates that don't amount to anything. So if we're gonna get like maybe some appearances of these shadow councils, heck, dude, even throw in the right hand man of Thrawn. What's his name again?
Helion.
Paleon. Like throw him in there. He's part of that shadow council. So that could lead to bigger things. It could lead into
Yeah.
Ahsoka season 2. It could lead into the Dave movie, right? There's a lot of potential that they can have in this if they do it right. And
Oh
well, I don't
yeah.
want
I
to have
think
my hopes up too high. I think that's the bottom line is you should at least do a little bit with that.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's honestly, to me anyways, I think that's going to be our biggest connection right there. Is whatever the Shadow Council's conversation is about. Whatever that is. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for the hardcore fans I'm predicting right now. And just because like for me anyways, like I've heard with some of the stuff like from people I know that know things, like tamper expectations to a degree for this movie. Like I
Hmm.
have heard that. I will say that I won't spoil anything or anything at all, but I have heard that. So like for me, I think it's more like the Shadow Council stuff, more even probably honestly just like it's going to be establishing Din as a primary character like in the rebellion, you know what I mean? Like kind of how Han was in A New Hope and joining the rebellion, and but Din's probably going to be like how Han was in like Empire Strikes Back, like where he's like, he's pretty involved and or that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, we already mentioned Ahsoka Tano before. Moving on to our next big thing, and man, I really hope that these reports are false because what happened here is we're
From the
getting
Disney official
reports.
site.
It's like I thought at Celebration Japan, I thought for sure they said Ahsoka was coming out in 2026. Now apparently that might it's not on the list or something like that. I'm assuming it's
Yep.
this year. I'm gonna put good vibes out there. It's still coming this year because I can't fathom that Disney, first of all, wouldn't have a single live action Star Wars show in a single year on their streaming platform. Um, it just wouldn't make sense, especially because Ahsoka's been done filming for so long. But I've recently got information from somebody that knows some stuff about the show, This is like from a person that knows a person that knows a person kind of thing, like way down the line. And apparently they're saying like the visual effects in this season are going to be nuts. Like the scale of this show is going to be huge. Like we're talking massive battles on Dathomir, huge. Like
Yep.
so maybe that's the cause of the delay if there is a delay. But I mean, I know I sent you that report. Like, what do you think about this?
I mean, I've heard like similar things from I've heard similar things from people that know stuff too. And like, just from my other like Star Wars friends, like, you know, um, like they've told me, like, the Ahsoka show is what we're looking for, the hardcore fans are looking for.
Okay.
Like I've heard some very interesting things about the Ahsoka show. I can say that. So like for me, I think that's just even without the little scoops and different things I've heard about it. For me, the Ahsoka show is my like most anticipated thing, just because of the lore implications and like where it's going to go and all of that sort of stuff versus versus anything else. Like I can probably I can tell you like the Mando movie is probably just going to be like him getting back on his feet, probably have some action with the Huts, whatever, get some sprinkles in a Shadow Council, and you keep it moving. It's probably going to be pretty basic, I would assume. So like that's probably your 10-second synopsis of the movie, and it's probably going to be 90% accurate, to be honest. But so like I just think with that, for me, the Ahsoka show has so much more intrigue because of all of these things, because of Dathomir, because of whatever they do with the whole Balin thing, because of them
Oh
recasting
yeah.
Balin. That's going to be a significant role, because if Balin wasn't significant, they would have just not recasted him and pulled like a weird off-screen disappearance, like, oh, Balin disappeared into the wilderness and didn't come back or something. Um, so that's the interesting thing. So I don't know what they're going to end up doing with this whole situation. So
Yeah.
but it is my most anticipated and exciting show. I'll say that.
Yeah, so as I was sitting in the room for the Star Wars Celebration Japan panel for this, and it was funny because it's like, oh, they're having a panel for Ahsoka. And it's like obviously they're not going to be talking about Ahsoka season 2 because they haven't even started filming yet. So a lot of it was like retrospective until like the last like maybe 10 minutes. They actually did start talking about it, and I mentioned it on here where they confirmed Hayden Christensen came out on stage is like, I'm going to be a part of it. So it's like, oh yeah, we've seen him at the end of season 1 as a big presence for Sabine
Yep.
and Ahsoka there. But then Filoni showed us this really awesome trailer where it was like there was no actual footage, but it was like concept art with music, and it was just like
Yep.
a
I seen it.
narrator. And it was really cool
Yep.
because it gave us the entire synopsis basically of the season in this little reel for like 2 minutes long. And they showed like different kind of like Night Sisters and this battle that's gonna be. They alluded to this battle, well, not even alluded. They told us there was gonna be a big battle between Mon Calamari favorite um, Admiral Akbar versus Thrawn in real space, while all this Mortisy stuff is happening on Peridian and the other like galaxy. It's like
Yep.
just from those two things alone, I'm like, wait a minute, how is this not a movie? Because that seems like quite the expensive endeavor to have full size capital ship battles. Like I was missing that in Rise of Skywalker. I'm going, wait, the Battle of Exegol? You barely showed us any of that. Where were the capital ships like we seen in Revenge of the Sith in the beginning of Battle of Coruscant? I want to see that action, and I feel like we actually might be getting that in Ahsoka season 2. So for somebody that loves like naval combat, somebody that wants to actually see Thrawn doing Thrawn things in live action, and he was doing that stuff in Ahsoka, but it was so small scale because he's not even commanding a ship. He's just like sitting in, well, he was on his ship, but he wasn't really doing much. I want to see him at the
Yep.
head of an armada of Star Destroyers, commanding legions of Dathomirian warriors, as well as, maybe we'll get the Zabraks from like Jedi Fallen Order to come in and just deal massive damage. Maybe we'll get the Night Brothers with, oh goodness, what is his name?
I think
Eunuch
I
or
do.
whatever his name is,
Yeah.
Enoch, Captain Enoch.
Uh,
There,
yep.
like, there's so
Enoch.
much potential for this damn thing, and I didn't even get into the border stuff yet.
Yeah. You have all of that. Still, making this show with all the Dathomirian witches. Dave's kicking himself for killing off Darth Maul in the animated shows, because he would have had Darth Maul in this. I would be willing to bet you anything. Um, but I think, yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited for the whole Mortis stuff. The interesting thing about that too is right when they were shooting, Hayden had a big autograph signing thing, and he sent out a cancellation that he had his PR people sent out a cancellation that he had like an emergency filming session. He had to go film something really quick, and it was a night shoot, so that's why he had to skip like an event around that time. So it's interesting. I'm so intrigued to see what they do with Hayden in this series, because you're gonna have him, you're gonna have Ahsoka, and all these people, and then of course like we're gonna get the stuff with Thrawn. I mean, we got Dave literally said Thrawn and Akbar, are gonna be going at it, which that's like a throwback to the old Zahn trilogy from the 90s, like
Really?
because Akbar was Thrawn's like rival
Oh,
in that trilogy. So you literally had him and Akbar like going at each other in the original trilogy of those movies, or of those books. So, I think that's going to be a big factor. Um, I think there's a chance, like, I could see them. They already did Luke. I'm so interested to see. I just hope Dave goes bold, because George would go bold whether the fans react good or bad, and I would love for Dave to go bold and just push the technology to its max like George would. Give us the original three. Give us Luke again. Give us Leia
oh.
and give us Han, and do it how you have to do it. But I would love for them to push the limits to that, and try that as well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense now because retroactively, those guys were even at the Battle of Jakku, which was
Yep.
the end all be all battle of the end of the Empire a year after the Battle of Endor.
There's no
So,
way they can't be involved in any of this. I mean, are they just on vacation at Naboo?
exactly. So it's like if there is a straight up threat to the galaxy by Thrawn, like Luke would have learned all about Thrawn by now. He knows how much of a threat this guy could be. Is he really going to just be studying Jedi artifacts and maybe teaching? I don't think he's even teaching Ben at this point. I think Ben's still too young. Forget exactly. I think he starts training maybe at 8 or 10 or something like that. And this is an all hands on deck kind of thing, especially with Leia would be involved because she's a senator of the New Republic. This is a huge threat to the New Republic. Han, like, yeah, I guess you could talk him away and be like, he's out there in the Outer Rim or something. But I could definitely see Luke for sure. He's already been in this once,
Yep.
so get
I
him.
think I
Yeah,
think I think him and Leia both. I think Leia, to me, anyways, I think she's more important for this series than even Luke is, potentially, because like or in terms of, who logically would be there. Obviously Luke could potentially be there for a battle or whatever, but like if you're having a governmental thing where you have
yeah,
Akbar and potentially Mon Mothma and whoever, why wouldn't Leia be there, especially only 5 or 6 years after Return of the Jedi? Like she
yeah.
would have to be there
I mean,
logically. I mean,
they already made reference to her in what was it, the second to last episode? No, yeah, second to last episode. Was that Ahsoka she was in?
hmm
Yeah,
yeah.
well, actually, it was she sent C-3PO in instead, and Mon Mothma
Yeah,
was
I
there.
I think that was their build up, because they like, let's perfect the technology before we reveal Leia.
I mean, it's been so far removed from the technology. I wouldn't be surprised if they just straight up recasted her at this point, even anyway, without the digital
I,
effects, like maybe even.
I think I think that's what they should do. Like that's a whole podcast I feel like we can talk about. But my like 2 cents on that is like, I think they could easily do it if they would have Dave. Like I always push for Dave to be the figurehead for a lot of this stuff, because I
Yeah,
feel like the fans won't have their bows and arrows out toward him, So just like have him come out and just be like, "Hey guys, like, we really respect Mark and Carrie and Harrison, and like, for us to keep telling and expanding these stories, we just want to, to make them as good as we can for you guys. We recasted these like three young actors. We really like them a lot, and hope you guys too do as well. Yada yada yada, and all this stuff. And like, look, they did it in a really respectful way like that with Balin, and people love Balin. Sure, he's a newer character, but if you just communicate to your fans, like they'll be less hostile.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So we cannot wait for Ahsoka season two.
Hmm.
Hopefully, fingers crossed for this year. Um, we mentioned
Yeah,
we mentioned the guy with the red tattoos, Maul. He's getting a series this year. Yeah, he is getting a series, an animated series, following the events of the Clone Wars with Maul, Shadow Lord. Um, we got a trailer there at Star Wars Celebration, and yeah, it's an interesting direction. You know, I don't think. I mean, we heard rumblings about this show years and years ago that it was happening, but like just people forgot about it, and then at Celebration they revealed it. It wouldn't have been my first choice for a new series for sure, especially because like, oh wait, we're getting another series like in between Clone Wars and Revenge or and A New Hope. But while that is kind of disappointing that we're like not getting a Luke Skywalker story, or not getting a High Republic animated
this should
series
have
or
been a
stuff like
three
this.
season Luke Skywalker story. Let's just keep it real for a moment. I
Yeah,
mean, this
yeah.
should have been a Luke story.
I just feel like they are just so they obviously are so
Yeah.
trepidatious about doing any Luke story because they're like, oh well, if we do this, then we can't ever do any other future stories with them again, kind of thing. So I
Yep.
just feel like that we might be 50 years old and we'll finally get it because at that point they'll have
Hmm.
mined the entire 30-year gap maybe. I mean that's only 15 years from now for 50 for me. So that's like okay, we'll see what happens. I mean, but anyways, getting back to this, like
Yeah.
okay, we don't really know anything. I'll be honest. Like they showed us a trailer, they didn't even really want to talk about it too much of what's happening. What I can tell you is it looks like Maul has an apprentice. It looks like it could be that famed Legends character Darth
Darth
Talon.
Talon. Hmm.
We see a red Twi'lek without any marking tattoos, but um, you know it's just Maul putting together Crimson Dawn is what it basically looks like. So, I mean, we got a little synopsis because of this comic that got revealed, but other than that, we really don't know too much about it. But what are your thoughts on this one?
For me, um, I'm excited for it just because of like, oh, it's cool for the people that are like in the weeds like us, like the little famed George Lucas apprentice of Maul, Darth Talon, potentially being in this series. I think is an excellent little nod that they did. I think that was really nice. And then I think the big takeaway for me really is just like, and I hate saying this because we're probably 3 seasons away, which is equivalent to probably 5 years away. But you know, for everybody, the big piece of pie that everybody's looking for with this show, in my opinion, is Maul and Vader facing off eventually to find out why Maul was so terrified of Vader during Rebels. So I think that's the honestly the I don't want to say the only thing I'm looking forward to, but it's literally like that and the talent stuff, and then whatever else with I mean just Maul doing cool stuff, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
the reason
but
why.
I do think. Oh, sorry. Sorry for interrupting you. I was going to say though, really quick. I do think the reason why they did this series though
Okay.
is this is the safest series to do because everybody likes Maul. Nobody's going to criticize him, even though you said and I said we'd rather have a Luke series. But what's easier? Well, for one, a Luke series, I feel like they would have to really be careful with the story they craft. To make sure it's not pulling a Last Jedi, for example, or something. Um, and like, I think when it comes to a show like this, it's more of an olive branch, like, hey, we're getting your feedback and whatever. Because, like, look, when the Bad Batch grew on me eventually, the Bad Batch was a straight up roller coaster for quite a while there. And I feel like a mall show is way more safe than introducing a new show like a Bad Batch or whatever, because at the end of the day, it's Darth Maul doing Darth Maul stuff. You're gonna get some action, you're gonna get some good one-liners, you're gonna get some Sith Jedi stuff probably. You're gonna get some Vader references, whatever. Um, so that's what I think we're gonna be getting with this series. I mean, heck, we're probably gonna get some carryover clones and stormtroopers in this series of, you know, they'll see Maul with his red lightsaber and they'll call him a Jedi and he'll be like, "Oh, I'm no Jedi" or whatever, and probably take him out or something. So like we'll get some cool sequences, and I think it's more of an olive branch show than like, oh hey, we want to like make this new groundbreaking show.
Yeah, I think what it really does is it scratches that itch for constantly hear from fans our age and older. It's like, we want that dark, gritty Star Wars. You know, we want that really intense stuff where it's violence and it's mature. And this is might be one of the most great version of that yet. And I go back to the Darth Maul video game that was being produced for the longest time and unfortunately got canceled. But that looked just like what I seen in the trailer, where it's this dark, grimy, Blade Runner
Yep.
esque neon crime ridden streets of Maul just walking through and just fighting goons. Like mobster, mafia type stuff happening. There might be a couple limbs lost here and there. Some really crazy violence happening. Like this is that show that won't hold your hand, hopefully. And it's gonna be that show that really takes us down that dark alley in Star Wars. And you know, we've had episodes here and there with different things, but for an entire series to be based on a villain, I don't think we really even had that
Yep.
before. So that's going to be something new for Star Wars and Lucasfilm. And it's like, how do you spin this to like make the protagonist somebody you root for, right? Even though they're a villain. So I'm curious about that, how they pull it off.
Yeah, I think with him, it'll just be like, you know, you'll be getting like the betrayal of Sidious. That'll be like a thing to make him a sympathetic character. And then also, like I said before, I know it's like predicting doom and gloom, but I if this does turn out to be Darth Talon and Maul's apprentice, I'm saying it's about a 95% chance. What the reason why he's scared of Vader is probably her and him try to face Vader, and Vader takes her out. And I
Ooh.
think that'll be your dark moment that like, you know, really, you know, shows like even Vader's more powerful than Maul trying to be this crime lord. And you know, I think that's what you're gonna get is something like that. Like I could see, I don't know. They could go a lot of different ways with Vader, because you know we've seen Vader use so much power before. I mean, look in Obi-Wan. I mean, he literally was fighting Reva with no lightsabers. You know, so like I think you know, with Maul, like there's a chance like what if we get a sequence like, I mean, they could go dark with it. They really could with a show like this. But what if we get a sequence where, you know, we're getting to the whatever finale, all three of them are fighting, and what if Vader just gets mad enough where he like literally force holds Maul off to the side and then takes out like stabs Talon or something, and Maul has to like witness it. Like, you know, like Vader could they could go really dark with Darth Vader in this, because you know it's an underworld show, so like you're not going to be getting a lot of the good guy, quote unquote, good guys perspective in this.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole talent thing, and it would be good. Like, obviously, character death promotes stakes in anything, and it really
Yep.
gets us to be like, okay, nobody's safe. But I really would like to see this show. The reason why that part of the reason why this show would exist, besides the fact of fleshing out Maul and adding more layers to Maul, would be like, hey,
Introduce Kira even.
let's get Talon to go on into the sequel trilogy. What something happens with her, so she runs away from Maul. He's too intense, and they get into trouble. She goes out on her. She learns enough from him and goes out on her own, and she starts her own Maul-esque Crimson Dawn, like
Hey,
post Rise of Skywalker or something like that. And
I
then
have
we're
your
like, oh
idea,
yeah, remember
Chris.
that girl? She was in this show that happened like 30 years before this, or 50 years
Oh.
before this, or
Hey,
something like
for
that.
your connectivity, why not have her run off because of whatever? Who knows? Maybe her and Maul fight Vader and they escape somehow, and then she's like, "Whoa, I didn't sign up for this! Like to fight a 7 foot mechanical monster."
Yeah.
So you know, maybe she leaves. What if you know if they want to really connect? Why not make her one of the villains of like the Ray movies, or
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
or something? And then you know, and then by the end of the Maul series, just to appease the Solo fans, introduce Kira for the final 3 episodes or something.
Oh. Well, I've it's got to go that way, right? Because Dryden
It has to.
Voss appears in the Clone Wars season 8,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Wait,
yep. Yeah. He
wait, is there
appears in the
7 or 8
final
seasons of
arc.
Clone Wars? Now I'm losing my head.
Seven.
All right,
Seven.
season 7, he shows up with the other two goons that are just nameless guys, part of
Yep.
some kind of syndicate. But like, the fact that like they laid those seeds in that show, and this is going to take place pretty soon after, I would imagine that this isn't the Shadow Collective anymore. He's building the Crimson Dawn.
Yep. I think that's where it's headed.
Yes. While we're already on the topic of Maul, we're gonna transition. We've been transitioning so well this episode. I've realized with like the different things are connecting to other things. Um, Comic books. So we have three major comic books I'm going to highlight here. The first of which ties into Maul Lord, and it's called Shadow of Maul from Marvel. I think it's either 4 or 5 issues. It starts in March, and this is the bona fide prequel. This will be like the catalyst to Rogue One. This will be the Shadow of Maul to Maul Shadow Lord with that, and you're going to follow the footsteps of some investigative guy working for, I guess, some organization, because at this point it would be the Empire, but that's ruling majority of the galaxy at this point. So it's just showing us what Maul's up to in this comic book. It's been a long time since we had some kind of like tie-in material that builds us into something new on screen. So I'm looking forward to see what goes on. I know the writer has seen the episodes, or at least some of the episodes that they are important enough for him to see to be able to write what the story would be that travels into the animated series. But it's good to see comic books taking more or less a center stage for a short amount of time, where it's like, hey, if you really want to know what's going to be happening in that first episode, you should probably pick up the issue, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's always good to have tie-in stuff like that.
Yeah, so we got that one coming out for Maul. Um, Building off of that one, we also have the High Republic Adventures Pathfinders. Now, this is great because, as we most of us know, the High Republic initiative is over as far as phase 1, 2, and 3, which told the crux of the Nile conflict. But the Nile conflict is not the end all be all of the High Republic. The High Republic is actually like 250 years or 300 years total time, whereas the Nile conflict takes place for like 3 years, essentially 2 or 3 years. So we're getting basically what I'm trying to say is there's so much other time for stories in this era. So that's what we're getting now.
Yep.
This offshoot story about the Pathfinders. If you're not familiar with them, the Pathfinders in the early years of the High Republic, which take place about 250 to no 350 years before the Phantom Menace. That's when people were just getting out to the Outer Rim. They were exploring, and they had to have these teams called Pathfinders, which were Republic sanctioned teams where they had a medic, they had like a communications guy, they had their own ship, their own droid to scout out hyperspace lanes, and they also would always have a Jedi and a Padawan to help assist people if they ran into issues and whatnot. So this is what one of the things that interested me from the beginning of the High Republic when they were, talking about what the general story was. They mentioned things like this, like missions of people going out to these unknown planets, not sure what they would find, but they're trying to chart these hyperspace lanes for people to get to the Outer Rim a little easier. So that story is cool, that we're getting this now. Even after the events of High Republic Initiative, we're still getting these tales that will, kind of flesh out what it's like for people to explore the galaxy.
Oh yeah. It's always good to get stories like that just to keep expanding when people like that.
Yeah. Another comic we're also getting is from Star Wars Visions. We got Sukumo, and this is not a Visions episode that we have seen, but Viz Entertainment or Viz Media, which is a largely, I believe, Japanese manga label. We've been getting the balance, Edge of Balance through the High Republic. We've been getting various other things through this label from canonical Star Wars things. This is apparently non-canon or Legends, whatever you want to call it. But it's literally like this Jedi that uses a clone trooper Republic Commando helmet. And we know it's set after the events of Revenge of the Sith. And yeah, it's about all we know. But it's good to see that, we're getting original Star Wars mangas that are just not even involved with building off of anything. They're their own unique story, and that's what Visions. We talk about Visions here all the time. What makes it so good is it's like the creator's interpretation of the values, of the motifs, of the themes of Star Wars in their own vision, literally. So
Oh yeah, it's always good. It's good that they're letting them make written content that's Legends material, so it's not just like, oh, the only content we can make, is canon. They're letting them, have the flexibility to kind of make what they want.
Oh yeah. So transitioning from comics to the other written medium are the books. And actually, in just a few short weeks, we're going to get another tie-in book. Well, this is a tie-in after the fact of the game that already came out. Well, that is Star Wars Outlaws. We're getting Low Red Moon, written by Mike Chen, who is a great Star Wars author. He wrote Star Wars Brotherhood, Ben. I don't know if you read that one
Yep.
with Anakin and Obi-Wan on Cato Nemoidia, with the business on Cato Nemoidia.
Yep.
That's
Yeah, I listened to that one.
great book. That's when he first meets
Hmm.
Asajj Ventress, I believe. Um,
Yep.
really good stuff. So yeah, he's writing. This story is basically about one of the villains in Star Wars Outlaws, and also the droid ND5, which is your compatriot little Commando BX droid. Somehow he survives the Clone Wars and has his own self-independent thoughts. So we're gonna get that story, the backstory to this other villain guy. Um, so it should be good. I mean, I would be more lukewarm about the story if it wasn't for Mike Chen writing it. The fact that Mike Chen is writing this story just bumps it up a little bit more for me because I know this guy can write good Star Wars. So looking forward to reading what stories he's going to tell, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It'll be interesting to hear what it's about.
The one I think there's two different stories I'm excited about. And one of them is this next one I'll mention. It's Star Wars Legacy. It's going to be out sometime in the summer. This is that Rey novel that's taking place between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. We've gotten plenty of stories actually in between that 1 year gap. I mean, currently we're getting a really, really good Kylo Ren story called um, Legacy of Vader. But this is also going to be taking place in that same time period, and it's going to be the crux of the story as it was revealed is like it's the relationship between Rey as the apprentice to Leia as her master. So we've had that year where Leia and her are on the different jungle planet. I forgot what it was
Yep.
called in the beginning of
I
Rise of
don't remember.
Skywalker. Yeah, that planet there. But stuff like rebuilding the crystal or building the lightsaber. Um, this is something I hope we get the flashbacks. Ever since I watched The Rise of Skywalker that first time, we get that cool flashback of Luke training Leia. I would love to hear some little anecdotes in this book about maybe some lessons that Luke taught Leia that she's gonna pass down to Rey, stuff like that, because there's some good stuff to mine from there. Maybe we'll get some Kylo Ren content because it looks like Kylo Ren is on the cover to a certain degree, a little small version of him. So maybe we'll get like some back and forth between Kylo's story and her story. There's good stuff in here, and you know what it is. It's been as we mentioned 7 years since the Rise of Skywalker at this point. So at this point, I'm expecting, the writer of this novel, which unfortunately I did not note the writer of this one at the time of recording. The longer somebody waits for a movie to be over, you can absorb it more. You can really get the other ancillary material and incorporate that into your story. So I'm expecting big things from this book because it's been so long since the Rise of Skywalker, and Rey is still at this foremost of the movies going forward, right? With the Jedi Order movie and all. So like, okay, let's start getting more out of her. Um, so yeah, I don't know if you have anything to say about this one, if you plan on reading this one.
I'll probably wait to hear what it's about because for me, I would have preferred this to be after Rise.
Yeah,
Um, so that's my only like. I'll wait. You know what? You know what? For anybody listening and wondering, that's why you subscribe to the Star After YouTube channel to listen to what Chris's thoughts are when he does his like 15-minute book reviews on here, or listen to the Ion Cannon podcast.
there you go. There you go. Yes. Next up, we have Eyes Like Stars. That's a young adult novel. So now that the High Republic initiative is over, it seems like Disney, Lucasfilm, in general, have a new initiative where it's like, we're going to make, and they've already done this before, but now they're just basically putting a fancy label on the book cover. It's like, oh, this is going to be our first Star Wars romance novel, which is not exactly true because we've had other novels. Like I think we've gone over this on the podcast, like The Princess
Yeah,
and the
we did.
Scoundrel and different things. This is not the first Star Wars romance novel, but basically they're trying to do this whole like little thing where it's like, okay, we're gonna get this romance novelist to write a Star Wars book, and I would imagine in the future we're gonna get like a good mystery novelist to write a Star Wars mystery, and the same thing with horror and all these different genres of books. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's their little gimmick there that they're going to be doing over the next I don't know if months or years or whatever. And last but not least, out of the books that were announced again so far, I would imagine there's probably going to be more books announced the further we get into the year because there's quite a big gap between now and summer when Legacy's out. But Reign of the Empire, book number 2, Edge of the Abyss. I hope the moral with the story is, the longer the wait, the better this product is because this should have been out soon and it got pushed all the way to like the end of this year, basically. This is the continuation to one of the best Star Wars books of the last 10 years, which was Reign of the Empire, The Mask of Fear, written by Alexander Freed. So this is next up. And this is written by Rebecca Roanhorse. So this is part of a trilogy. And from what I heard, Ben, the synopsis is actually putting this a year before the events of Andor Season 1, which are about 5 years before Rogue One. So this is actually a lot closer in this book than it was in the first book. The first book takes place, like, they're still cleaning in Mask of Fear, dude, they're still cleaning the rubble from the streets of Coruscant after the battle overhead with the whole Palpatine being stolen by Grievous thing. So like that's how soon after Revenge of the Sith that book is basically taking place almost like directly on top of Revenge of the Sith. And now we're jumping basically like 14 years in the future with this next book. And what's going on with these books is you have Bail Organa's perspective of the rebellion. You have Mon Mothma's and you have Saul Guerrera's extremist perspective of how to fight the Empire. And all these characters do intertwine in that first book, but it's great to know that Rebecca had the time she needed to write this book, especially after watching all of Andor. Now that we know Andor is completely done, now we could start filling in the gaps of those years, right? Of like, ooh, what took place between these two seasons, which I would imagine was going to happen with the book number 3. We get that eventually. But yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, I would definitely recommend reading the first book or listening to the first book because while it isn't really technically a prequel to Andor, it is Andor in every sense of that being. Like it is politically scary and it's really down to earth and in reality, and it just feels it reads really well.
Okay, that's good. I might have to check it out.
Yep. Moving on to games. We have the potential of 2 games, and the gaming industry is so volatile that at any given moment we could get a delayed message from any of these game developers. But first, as was announced at Japan, we haven't heard a word since, which gets me worried. We're supposedly getting Star Wars Zero Company, which is right up my alley because it's basically Star Wars meets XCOM. So think of it as like a Star Wars turn-based. Like you have a little squad of guys. You go, they go, you go, they go. And I play a Star Wars miniature game called Star Wars Legion, which is basically the same thing in real life with little miniature guys you put on a table. So this game is basically speaking my language. It spoke my language even more when the developer was on stage saying that you're going to be able to have customized characters, that you're going to be able to completely tweak their design, their alien race, every single thing about them. That sounds awesome. It's set during the Clone Wars. It's like a bunch of ragtag group of adventurers. You got Toth Jedi or whatever they're called, Tognath Jedi, like the two tubes guys from Rogue One.
Oh.
There's a Jedi there. You got this rough and tough ex-Republic officer. Like this mission that they're doing is basically off the books of the Republic. They're actually mercenaries. They're not even working for the Republic. So you even have like Mandalorians. You have a base. You basically are taking over the entire galaxy. Like you're fighting. There's a galaxy map. You're deploying to these different planets. You might be fighting, droids or whatnot. It seems huge in scope. Again, I'm worried that this might slip into 2027 at this rate because we haven't heard a peep. But this is not going to be a game for everybody. I will say that off the top of my head. This is not going to be like if you're a fan of Battlefront or a fan of whatever major shooter
Yep.
game or Jedi Fallen Order, you might not vibe with this game because it'd be very slow paced. Because that's the nature of the beast when it comes to these kind of turn based games. I just
Yep.
recently played Midnight Suns the beginning of last year, and I spent a good 80 hours. Like these games tend to take a long time. If you really want to put time into them, you can put a lot of time into them. So I'm anticipating this game could be one of those games as well. But I don't know if you plan on playing this one, Ben.
No, I'll be honest with you. I'll be like Milton. Nope. I'm good on that. I just not my gaming type. But hopefully everybody who plays it enjoys it and everything. And again, like I told everybody earlier, like, I'll listen to your review on here, and if I do get intrigued by it by when you review it and stuff, then I might give it a shot.
Yep, I think the next game will be more up your alley because it's a racing game, Star Wars Galactic Racer. This was literally announced about a month ago at the Game Awards 2025, and it's exactly what you want to hear. It's made from the developers of Need for Speed and Burnout, which are two of my favorite racing game franchises, mind you. And it's dealing with different kind of vehicles. You're racing across, Jakku or the snow planet. Like again, it's been just announced, so there's not a lot of information out about it now. But this is gonna again scratch that itch for people that like racing games that happen to be Star Wars fans. Like you can't go wrong. And the moral of the story is I'll keep harping on this. I know people want the Battlefront 3. I know that every time we get a game announcement, people are
Needs to
harping
happen.
on that. But as much as I am there with you guys, I also appreciate that Lucasfilm Games is curating their Star Wars library of games to kind of hit every single um, tally mark for like the different genres of video games. Like they haven't really repeated too many of the same ones. We got our action adventure. We have an announcement of a new Star Wars single player RPG with Star Wars Fate of the Republic. We have Star Wars Eclipse, which is going to be like a narrative adventure. We have, Jedi 3. We have this game here. We have a card game got announced. Like literally every single genre almost at this point they've been getting into. So it's like, hey, if it's not your jam, you just go on to the next game. But hey, I still appreciate them out there trying. They're trying to put this stuff together. We got Outlaws, an open world game. So hey, I'm excited, and if we can get two AAA Star Wars games in the same year, that hasn't been done yet. So usually it's one. In the case of last year, we got zero, unless you count Destiny 2 Renegades expansion, which I freaking love that expansion. That's a great game. It's just a shame that most people are never going to play because they're not Destiny fans. So that
Yep.
Venn diagram is
Yeah.
very small there. Um,
Oh yeah. I'm definitely excited about the racer game. I can't wait to like see more about it, read more about it. Get more trailers and more deep dives whenever those come out of like, people reviewing and like breaking the games down and like because there's always walkthroughs or people leading up to it that have early access.
yeah.
Um, I'm definitely excited to see what to check out that sort of stuff and try that game out later this year. I'm definitely thinking I'm going to get it. So
Yeah, on to collecting. For the Black Series, we have some really cool figures coming out. Kyle Katarn, we're getting another Legend superstar for the first time realized in a live action likeness with Kyle Katarn, which is so cool. We're also getting Quinlan Voss. Again, it's really awesome seeing these guys look in what they look like in live action. And we're getting a young Dooku, which is just so cool that we're now getting such ancillary material figures made, which is just props to Hasbro for finally like doing something unique because especially with the Dooku figure, you get the version of the head with or without the beard. So that's really cool. I don't think I've ever seen them. And they redesigned the saber. So like they give you two saber options. They give you one where it's like just the normal saber, but then they do a new design of a different saber where it's like a wave like that's coming off of the back side of the blade. So it looks like the blade is like literally moving in motion. So props
Mhm.
to Hasbro for kind of redefining themselves, trying to step up a little bit with their variety and not just giving us, well, they will always give us, oh, the same Vader, the same Boba Fett, the same Luke Skywalker.
Mhm.
But at least they're out there going, okay, at least we got the stuff for Legends fans and fans of the more obscure characters out there.
Big thing with that really when it comes to those is it's just like, they're getting us the Legends characters. Hey, let's just call it for what it is. A lot of people weren't buying a lot of the sequel related people or other characters
Yeah,
like that. So like, provide characters people like and they'll spend money on it.
that's right. Another thing that I want to spend money from for Lego is the new Venator that, as of recording, has been out for the last 3 days. There is a Venator class Star Destroyer that's under $100. And it's one of the smaller replicas that you can have a stand and put it on your desk. So, if you're like Milton, who has a Boba Fett helmet at his job, you can have this next to it, and it looks pretty professional because it's a nice little itty bitty size Venator class Star Destroyer, which is one of my favorite designs. So, really cool that they got that. I wish I had a room for it because I really don't have any in my current living situation, but hey, there you go. If you want to spend money and not have break the bank, that thing looks like it's a pretty affordable, both from a space perspective as well as a finance perspective.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I do have to go though, Chris, because I have kind of like a hard cutoff and I didn't realize we have to run and also grab dinner.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I was gonna say though, thanks for having me on. I didn't realize I didn't realize we had to run to town still. Um, so I didn't realize I was part of going to town, so I have to actually go and head out of here. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody for listening to me yap about Star Wars for a while. And if you want to finish up covering these things, Chris, you can.
Yes, I certainly
But
will.
but all right, sounds good. Well, for anyone, if you want to find me talking about Star Wars or fitness or football or any of these things we talked about tonight, you can find me at Real Ben Maynard on X or Instagram, and I'll catch you guys next time.
All right. See ya.
All right, later, man.
So, as far as the last thing, this is something I have to cycle back to. Apologies for this one, guys. But under animation for this year, we are also getting the Star Wars Visions spin-off series for The Ninth Jedi. That was the first time we were actually getting a spin-off series of Star Wars Visions. I think it's called Star Wars Visions Presents the Ninth Jedi series or something like that. I'm not sure how many episodes. Maybe it's like 8, maybe it's 10. I don't even know if they gave us a number. But this is great because what we commonly see from Volume 1, standout things were the duel. Village Bride, I think, was one of them. People like the Twins ones a lot, even though I didn't really enjoy it as much. But definitely they liked the Ninth Jedi. That was the longest one at like 21, 22 minutes. And it really felt like it established the galaxy so well with that 20-minute episode. So many new things that we haven't seen in Star Wars, but felt weirdly familiar, but also obviously had the Japanese centric spin on it. So for me, I'm really looking forward to this. I hope they make it an event. I hope they just don't throw out all the episodes out there at one time. Like let's sit there and absorb them, especially if they're 20 minutes long. I really prefer to just watch week to week. Obviously I have a podcast here with you guys, so I want to have, some cool content to chew on here, but I really want to see that Visions take like the center stage. I think for like 2 months would be really cool in the fandom to see like, hey, everybody's talking about this different kind of Star Wars and where can this character go? She's trying to find her father and she's been already on 2 different episodes, right? That we also got her in volume 3. Very emotionally impactful episode with that droid. The droid felt so much like a human to me. And but yeah, I'm looking forward to this one quite a bit. So I think that about wraps it up. I really think that is everything we know so far. As of recording, we're only 4 days into the new year, so I mean, there's no celebration this year, which is a bummer. We'll come back for 2027 for celebration for the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. But as far as this year, for what I think this year is going to be for me personally, it seems like it's a transition year. What I mean by that is like, okay, the comics are starting to wind down. What I mean by wind down is like they're not shutting down, but we're getting a lot less of them. By March, we're only going to have a single issue from Marvel and a single issue from Dark Horse, which is kind of concerning. So I don't know what's going on there. For publishing, we have a gap that's like 6 to 7 months long in between one of the books, which is Outlaws, and I think that's the Legacy one doesn't come out until the end of July, so that's a big gap there. So it seems to me, at least with publishing a lot, like they're maybe trying to figure out what they're doing next. For maybe they're planning a big initiative, so they have to slow down the releases for now. Um, and then finally, like, with Mandalorian, like this is a movie that, yes, it's a Star Wars movie, but it's a movie that I don't think enough people are as excited for it as, let's say, an episode 10, right? Like this is kind of an in-between movie, if you will, to kind of hold us over for Starfighter even, which I'm vastly more excited for. Um, and yeah, and even, maybe we'll not even get Ahsoka, and if that's the case, that'll be a darn shame because I really look forward to live action stuff. At least once a year. Last year we got Skeleton Crew and Andor in the same year for live action, so there's a lot going on there. But yeah, definitely feels like it's an exciting year for Star Wars, but it feels like there's like so many very different projects going on, not too much of a singular focus. So very curious about how we feel at the end of this year when we give our takes and our review like we did the previous episode on all of 2026. Hopefully it's a good year. I would say I'm staying optimistic about it. All right. So for Milton, for Ben, for Chris, aka Star Raptor, that's gonna do it for episode 219. As I said off the top, if you are listening to this podcast, we go live on YouTube. Check us out, youtube.com/StarRaptor, and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when we do go live. And we also are available on any podcast streaming app of your choice. Just search Outer Rim Transmission. So for Ben, for Milton, who couldn't join us, this was it for the first episode of the year. Happy New Year to everybody, and may the force be with you always. End transmission.